Hey guys, Boney McBonerton here. When I was a very little baby, a little toddler if you will, I actually hated Pokemon because it's all my brother would watch in the morning. My older brother to be specific. But when I grew up to be slightly bigger than a toddler, I actually fell in love with the series and became an avid collector of Pokemon cards. Shut the fuck up, computer, I'm telling my tragic life story. But yeah, I was big into Pokemon. I watched all the movies, saw all the episodes, was collecting a lot of cards. I wasn't like a really collect every single card kind of guy. I was like, "Oh, cool. My parents found some of these at like a garage sale and so we got them. Yay, that's awesome." But unfortunately, as I grew older, I fell out of Pokemon. Mainly because I ended up losing my massive collection in my parents' divorce. Don't worry, if anything, we knew the divorce was happening. That's kind of what happens when your dad is a child beating, alcoholic, pill popping homosexual who cheats on your mom with like 11 women and one man that we know of. But enough about my shitty childhood. I was just giving that exposition over why I'm so interested in the massive Pokemon leaks that took place over last weekend. At least I think it was over last weekend. It was sometime over last week. It was sometime over the weekend before recording this. So yes, you heard that right. There was an enormous Teraleak of info from Pokemon involving like unused beta sprites, unused lore, like different regions, like test stuff. But most of the people aren't interested in that. Most people are interested in the fanfics that was discovered. So on top of all the employees' data leaking, we got a lot of these fun fanfics. I wouldn't call them fun, actually. They're supposedly pretty disturbing, like featuring a lot of messed up fetish content. And to check that out, I'm going to be reading that. I have taken the time to go through a lot of Twitter and a lot of internet, and here's what I could find. And so we're gonna start the stories from like least sexual to the most sexual to the most disturbing, starting with Octillery. So keep in mind, as we read these stories, this is all written by official Pokemon staffers. Theme: the collapse in culture and relationships. There was a time when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was blurred. In a coastal village, there was a man. One day, as he was walking along the shore, he found a female octillery washed up on the beach. The man had relations with the octillery and then threw it back into the sea. The next day, he went to the same spot and found the same octillery again. He once more had relations with it and threw it back into the sea as before. Damn, he just saw an octillery, used it as a fleshlight, just like, this bitch is used. Yeet! Right into the ocean, and that octillery came back for more. Man, that's freaky. When I read this first sentence by myself earlier, I was like, it's not that bad, but now that I'm reading out loud, damn, that's kind of freaky. One night, after several days had passed, the man had a dream. In the dream, the octillery spoke to him, I cannot come to you, but I will deliver our child to you. It is our child, yours and mine. He impregnated the octillery. Call this motherfucker the Deep. The next morning, the man went to the place where he had met the octillery. There, he found a boy. The man took the boy home and raised him. Time passed, and the boy grew into a young man. The father passed away. The young man was always lonely. One day, as the young man was walking along the shore, he saw a group of people playing in the distance. They all held very large swords in their hands as they danced. The young man approached the people, and as he got closer, he saw that Sharpedo were playing along the beach. When he tried to get even closer, the Sharpedo suddenly leapt into the sea all at once. However, one of the Sharpedo lingered, looking around 3 times before swimming away. At the spot where the Sharpedo had been playing, there was a large sword lying on the ground. It was the shape he had never seen before. It was very sharp and pointed. The young man took the sword home. The next day, the young man took the sword and went into the forest. While walking through the forest, he encountered an Ursa ring. He tried slashing at the Ursa ring's mouth with the sword, and the mouth was easily severed. Next, he stabbed the Ursa ring's eyes, and they were easily pierced. Finally, the young man thrust the sword into the Ursa ring's chest, and the Ursa ring died effortlessly. Jesus. I think that's like a bear Pokemon, right? That day, the young man killed 30 Ursaring. Jesus. After that, he always carried the sword with him, playing by injuring the Pokemon he encountered or cutting off parts of their bodies. One autumn, while the young man was searching for firewood, he lost his way. After walking for a while, he stumbled upon a Ursaring's den. Inside, there was an elderly Ursaring lying down. The elderly Ursaring looked at the young man and said, "Come inside." And the young man hesitated, but as it was getting dark, he entered the den. Before long, people began to enter the den one after another, filling the room completely. Looking closer, he saw that all the people had scarred faces and some of them were missing their eyes. They were chatting amongst themselves, but the young man ignored them and fell asleep. At one point, he woke up to find the elderly Ursaring laying beside him. He fell asleep again. When he woke up one more time, there were many people around talking about something. Again, the young man ignored them and went back to sleep. Yo, there's all these people surrounding me. Yeah, the most sensible thing is to just say screw it and fall asleep in this cave next to this literal bear. When spring arrived, the elderly Ursaring spoke. "Do you want to go home? Then I shall send you home when you return. A whale lord will soon be found near the village. Go there. We will send a man. You must leave the sword behind and bring a witness. Why did you do such things? Cutting faces and slicing off noses." The elderly Ursaring escorted the young man back to the village. Upon his return, the young man encountered everything that had happened to the villagers. No, recounted everything. Sorry. The following morning, the young man took some villagers with him and headed to the shore. As they walked along the coast, they found a large whale lord nearby on the beach. They found a large whale lord. Nearby on the beach was a Teddy Ursa. When it noticed the young man, the Teddy Ursa hid in the forest, and a large Ursaring came out in its place. As the Ursaring charged at him, the young man tried to draw the sword he had hidden, but it got stuck and he couldn't pull it out. So he rushed the Ursaring with his bare hands. The young man and the Ursaring grappled, punching each other's faces. They strangled each other with all their strength, and so they choked each other to death, collapsing on top of one another. The villagers went back and told the others what they had seen. So, yeah, this is basically a murder story with, oh, by the way, this guy fucked a Pokemon at the beginning. So, yeah, you're gonna see a little bit of a theme there. Apparently, upon these stories, there's also themes of straight up Pokemon murder. Yeah, as if Pokephilia wasn't weird enough. I want to apologize if I seem a little off. I literally just woke up. Okay. This one's a little worse than the last story. Theme: original sin based on the current Pokemon world. In the distant past, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was still blurred, there's a woman and her companions. I think this was written by the same woman, possibly, that did the previous story. Or guy, whichever weirdo was projecting their fetishes here. Every day they were bored, so they would often catch Slackoth living in the nearby forest. They played cruel games with the captured Slackoth, sometimes killing them off for fun, gouging out their eyes and cutting off their ears. Jesus. First of all, I don't think Slackoths have ears. It's just like, where'd you find the ears? Absolute psycho shit. One day, the woman was walking alone in the forest and saw a Slackoth hanging from a tree. She climbed the tree to catch it, but slipped and injured herself. At that moment, a Vigoroth appeared. This Vigoroth had a torn ear. The woman, startled, tried to flee, but her injured leg hurt too much and she couldn't move. The Vigoroth with the torn ear suddenly attacked her. When it saw her, the woman lost consciousness. When she awoke, she was in an unfamiliar place. Before her lay a clear lake surrounded by trees, from which many Slackoth and Vigoroth were hanging. All the Pokemon bore wounds somewhere on their bodies, marks left by the woman and her companions. Upon closer inspection, she noticed that some of the Slackoth hanging around the trees were corpses. They were the very Slackoth that the woman and her friends had killed and discarded. The Slackoth were throwing those corpses into the lake. Terrified, the woman tried to run away, but a Slacking appeared. This slacking also had a torn ear. The woman realized that this was the same Vigoroth she had seen earlier, and fear overwhelmed her, causing her to faint once more. When the woman regained consciousness, she found herself at the entrance of the forest near her home, surrounded by friends. They carried her back to the house. Sometime later, the woman gave birth to a child, but it wasn't a human child. It was a Slackoth. She intended to abandon it, but she couldn't bring herself to do so. She stopped the meeting with her friends and decided to raise the Slackoth. One day, her friends, concerned about her, visited the area near her home. They found the Slackoth sleeping there, the child of the woman. As they always did, they caught the Slackoth, stabbed it in the chest, and killed it. They took its corpse and headed to the woman's house. When they saw the slain Slackoth, the woman was overwhelmed with sorrow. She grabbed the Slackoth's body and ran deep into the forest. Her friends, shocked, chased after her. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the surroundings suddenly opened up, and they found the same clear lake from before. Around the lake were many Slackoth and Vigoroth. The woman stood before the lake, and holding the lifeless body of the Slackoth, she threw herself in the water. Afterwards, the woman's friends began to treat Slackoth as companions, just as she had in her final moments. So yeah, the moral of the story: don't fuck with the wildlife, or they'll impregnate you forcibly. So that one sounded pretty bad, right? Okay, we're gonna get to the really infamous one, Typhlosion. It doesn't help that I'm super tired, but reading these is also giving me a little bit of brain damage. Plymouth Typhoon. Okay, so a little bit of context. This was originally in Japanese, but someone luckily translated it to English. And if you see something like, I'm trying to find the word. Here, I'll find the word as I'm reading. Relationship between humans and Pokemon. Hu- oh god, excuse me. Human-like way of thinking. A long time ago, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was unclear. God, why does that always start like this? Okay. A long time ago, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was unclear, once upon a time. That's a stupid way to start a story. First of all, once upon a time, there was a village. One day, a girl from the village went to the mountains to collect firewood. The girl found some dry, dead trees deep in the mountains, so she went deeper and deeper. When she woke up, the sun was setting and the girl had lost her way. When did she fall asleep? There was takufu droppings all over the place, which made the girl feel uneasy. Then a man was seen washing up on the other side of the forest. The man's face was like any other man in the village, but he was very handsome. The man said, "You must be lost. I know the way down the mountain, but it will be midnight if you follow my footsteps. I'll bring you back tomorrow morning, so why don't you stay and rest at my place tonight?" The girl had no choice but to do as the man said. The man took the girl's hand and started walking. As the sun was setting, we came to a large cave. We? This is my house. You must be hungry. Wait for me. Saying this, the man went out of the cave. A short time after the man left, a red light appeared in the distance of the mountains, and the sound of trees swaying could be heard. Soon the man returned with a large load of red nuts. It's not the only nut he came back with. After I eat this, I'm going to sleep. Even if you wake up before me, don't look at me. When the girl woke up the next morning, the man was still asleep. The girl kept her promises to the man and continued to wait, but eventually fell asleep again. The girl was woken up by the man's voice. When she looked inside, the sun was already setting. Let's eat some green fruit today. Wait for me. And with that, he went out of the cave. A short time after the man left, a red light appeared in the distance of the mountain. The sound of trees swaying could be heard. When the sun had completely set, the man returned home bearing a large load of green nuts. The man said, "After I eat this, I'm going to sleep. Even if you wake up before me, don't look at me." The girl said that she wanted to go home quickly because her family was worried about her. The man yawned loudly and smacked the girl on the head. The girl was then completely forgot about her family and her home. Then they both ate the green fruit and fell asleep. The next day, the two of them woke up as the sun was setting. The man went to gather nuts. The two of them ate and went back to sleep. As life continued like this, the girl eventually realized that the man was Bakufun. which is apparently Japanese for Typhlosion. As winter approached, Typhlosion dug deep into the cave and said to the girl, "Go and gather some firewood. Break off the top branches of the tallest trees you can find." The girl tried to do as Typhlosion said, but she was afraid of tall trees, so she could only climb low ones. After collecting some branches and returning home, Typhlosion said, "No, we have to get the higher branch or else the humans will see us." As the snow began to fall, the two of them slept in the depths of this deepening hole. There's plenty of food. I woke up every now and then to eat and then sleep again. What do you mean I? Like, I don't know if this is a translation or like this is the author accidentally self-inserting themselves, being like, "Oh, surprise. This is actually my fantasy. It's supposed to be about me." One day the girl woke up to find a child in her arms. After several days and nights had passed, the girl woke up and the Typhlosion said, "Your father's looking for you, but you're my wife and I can't give you back. I have to fight him, bro." The girl said, "Please stop. Please don't kill my father. How can I live with you after killing my family? You're a good person, so let's stay here and sleep." "Okay, I'll sleep here." The man nodded. The next night, Typhlosion woke the girl up and said, "Your father's nearby. Go and look outside." When the girl looked outside, a snowstorm was blowing around her. She climbed a low tree and broke its branches. When they returned to the cave, Typhlosion was singing a song they had never heard before. "You have broken the branch. Your father will be here soon. Now, I'm going to do something bad to your father. If you kill me, you can have my eyes, my voice, and my heart. Then I want you to build a fire where I was killed and let it burn. I want you to sing the song until it burns out." The girl said, "Please stop. You're going to kill my father. Please stop. Let yourself be killed." Bro, what a fucking demand. Just let yourself be killed, man. "Goodbye. We'll never meet again." With that said, Typhlosion went outside. After a while, a loud noise was heard and the girl peeked outside. It was revealed that the girl's father had killed Typhlosion. The girl ran outside and told her father, "Your father killed your son." Wait, what? The girl ran outside and told her father, "Your father killed your son? I have lived with him until now. He is my husband. Please give me your husband's eyes, hearts, and voice." Typhlosion. Who is? I'm so confused trying to read this. Like, who is saying this is like? It's not the. It's not the daughter. It's like what? The girl built a fire at the place where Typhlosion had been killed and poured her eyes, heart, and voice into the flames. And while it was burning out, I sang the song I learned from Typhlosion. Again, self-insertion slip up. The girl's father built a hut on the outskirts of the village and put the girl and her child in it. Eventually, spring came. The young men in the village often teased and abused the girl and her child. It got worse day by day, and at one point they tried to cover it with the fur of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. What? Of a Tyrannosaurus Rex? What? Okay. Here's where the translation errors come in. I'm pretty sure this was supposed to say, like, Typhlosion, but it got messed up in translation. The girl returned home and complained to her parents. "Tell the villagers not to make fun of us. If we wear those skins, we'll surely turn into Typhlosions. Even now, I'm half dead." Even though, even though my parents, there's self-insertion slip-up number 3, tried to explain it, the people in the village would not listen. On the contrary, he became even more amused and covered the girl and child in Tyrannosaurus furs, in Typhlosion furs. The girl and the child then howled loudly and disappeared into the depths of the forest. The two never returned. That's how people found out. Typhlosion is half human. So yeah, that was pretty stupid. So you're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, except for like the abuse and straight up like kidnapping, it seems semi-fine. But according to a lot of people, this is apparently like heavily insinuated roofing, Cosbying, if you will. Date rape, if you are so inclined. So yeah, those are the really fucked up Pokemon stories that Pokemon staff themselves wrote. So At first I was thinking, like, when I heard about this, like, oh yeah, it's gonna be, like, really smutty, really graphic and horrible, but no, this reads like, someone at Game Freak, the company that makes those Pokemon games, had to write lore, and then when the lore got, like, read over by some of the staff, they were like, dude, you cannot put this in a game. Like, even the parts of, like, butchering Pokemon are pretty bad, but, like, the straight up Pokephilia. I can see why they didn't want to put this in any of the games. That's my theory. My theory is that this was supposed to be like lore building for some of the games. Like you could go into a library and be like, oh hey, here's some books, let's read them. And these were the stories that come up. But I think these stories got intentionally cut from the game. And it's not hard to see why. Alright. I hope you guys had fun reading these stories. I am going to go take a shower because I am gross, and I actually feel a little gross after reading some of these. Have a good day now, and goodbye.